Hi, welcome to my third weekly wrap-up. I'm getting a Master's of Forestry at Northern Arizona in Flagstaff, where we have lots of snow. We have a lot to cover this week, so I have some company. I did not create that. I've been out walking and sledding instead. But we have a lot to go over, so I may have to skip around instead of going from class to class. The three classes are forest insects, Ecological Economics, and an independent study on the value of forests. So, insects. This week we did a lot of classifications and found out that there are actually snow flies, snow fleas, and snow scorpions that you can, these bugs come out in the snow. If you see some snow that looks really dirty, then it might be insects that are coming out, and I have not been able to find any so far. Oh, let's see, jumping bristletails is a bug, an insect. It's actually very important this week, the difference. They live in the ponderosa pine soils. This is a ponderosa pine forest, and they are decomposers. I was really shocked to learn that they live for 4 years. Then we moved on to silverfish. They are also in the forest floor. They don't have a very strong ectoskeleton, so they like damp places. That keeps them from dehydrating. And one of the places that they like is in libraries, because they like to eat the glue from books. So you can find them there as well as the forest floor. They live 4 to 8 years, which again I was quite surprised, because I am more used to things like the mayfly, which, important here, it is one word, mayfly, versus housefly. So mayfly is not a true fly, and that's why it is one word. They're aquatic. They live 2 hours to 2 days. The males don't even have any teeth. This is the adult stage. The dragonflies, that is also one word. Dragonflies have their wings out really long, whereas the damselflies, if you see them from the side, their wings are, they pull them back when they hang out and stop flying. Let's see, they are some of the largest insects. They used to be 2 feet in, their wingspan was 2 feet, but that was way back. Way back. Now the largest one is only about 7 inches long. They are some of the best predators known. They do this really cool thing. They have motion camouflage. So like if the cheetah is running after a zebra, they run this way after them, but the dragonfly has a motion camouflage, so it cuts off the angle. So the insect is flying and the dragonfly cuts it off on the angle where it's going to come to. So they are incredible predators. And let's see, they I don't know how long they live. Termites, they are very social. They have one queen, and she can live for 30 years. I had no idea insects live this long. There is a suborder, Heteroptera, and those are true bugs. So I am actually very accurate today and talking about bugs instead of just forest insects. The Heteroptera have an X pattern on their body. A lot of them are pests. They include aphids. So if you ever park your car underneath a pine tree, it's not the pine tree's fault that you're getting sap all over your car. It's actually from the aphids. And if you look at a pine tree and it's kind of shiny, then that's a clue that the aphids are bringing all the sap to the surface, and that's why they're shiny. So don't park under the shiny trees. The last one is the walking sticks, and they are from the order Phasmadia, which P-H-A, that first part stands for phantom, like Phantom of the Opera. They are very good at camouflage, the little walking sticks. They like to eat pine needles, and they are mostly defoliators. They can do a lot of damage. And the word today for the forest insects, in fact, is defoliator. A defoliator only eats leaves, whereas a herbivore will eat any part of the plant. All right, moving on to EE. We did a lot on valuation. One thing from a video we watched was really cool. Aristotle is famous for having said that the whole is greater than the parts. Well, traditional economics says the whole is the parts, but that is really difficult to do when you look at a forest. So say there's 12 trees and 7 insects. Well, you get rid of the 12 trees, you don't have the 7 insects anymore because the insects were there because of the trees. So they're trying to come up with different ways to create value and valuation for forests and any kind of ecosystem services. There's hedonic, let's see, oops, I shouldn't have turned the page. Hedonic, travel cost, contingent, I don't know how to say this one either, Bayesian. So they're trying to look at various different ways. They're even looking at using juries, the jury system in the US, to see if we can have like a joint decision on where the values are and where they come from. One of the things I loved was adaptive management, and consists of 2 things: that there is a cost to doing nothing. So that part acknowledges uncertainty and the unknown, that those things exist. The second part of it is the precautionary principle. So sometimes you err on the side of safety when you really don't know what's going to happen, but acknowledge that if you don't do anything, something will continue to be a problem. Let's see. So, and then this was really cool. So they're trying to figure out how to apply these different methods in research. And one of the things that scientists do, is ask the values from the public and what they feel like the forests give, or any ecosystem. We read one article that was on how an area in Phoenix valued hiking and biking, or surface water, or groundwater, or various other aspects. The number one that came up was wildlife, and the second one was surface water. Way at the bottom was groundwater, which I feel like is one of the market failures. The quote definition of that, one of those is a lack of education. So people understand all these other buzzwords that are in media, but it is very difficult to ask them to care about precipitation to infiltrate soil as it slowly percolates, thus reducing runoff. Like, that's not the same thing as, oh, there's endangered wildlife. So it really matters what we teach and how we teach it, because surface water is very important, but so is groundwater. We have all the snow finally, and hopefully we will have really cold weather for months so that the water can slowly percolate and infiltrate into the soil. Let's see, what else do we have from them? Oh, the word for ecological economics is actually a term. It is life cycle assessments, LCA. It's an attempt to really include all the cost in what something costs, like all of the externalities, and not just look at the immediate cost of something, which I am really excited about. One of the examples that they had in the paper was like if you were trying to evaluate how much a pipeline was, natural gas costs, you have to include the cost of the pipeline. Or with coal plants, you have to include the externalities, which includes the pollution. So this paper, the damage cost of a coal generator was $45 per megawatt, but when they include the LCA, life cycle assessment, which included the cost of mining the coal and transporting it to get over to where it was going, it went up to 186 megawatts per megawatts. I didn't understand the actual assessment, but they kept the same assessment, and it went from $45 to $186 when you actually include the entire life cycle assessment. So they are very important. Let's see. All right, quickly, independent class. I'm still looking more deeply into issues that come up with protected areas put me into a lot of the concepts of environmental justice. One thing that was really interesting is in 1992, at that point in time, President Bush said, when he reluctantly went to the Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, he said that the American lifestyle is not up for negotiation, period. Well, the Danes took a different approach, and for their desire to become energy independent, they created all these amazing bicycle paths. They became very proud of their bikes. They have the highest amount of wind energy production. And so their view of all the environmental issues was, we're going to, take it head on. And we've said, no, you're not going to change anything I like to do. So we could learn some things, is all that is. Let's see, one of the problems with when you create protected areas, and the way that they have traditionally been created, is that you can commodify the plants and animals, so people that lived there didn't really see them as economic issues before, and then they do. And ultimately, one of the real concerns is however we define the environment is how we define ourselves. So it is important to consider whether or not people are allowed in these places, which people, when, and by whom. One of the concerns that I found out was the way that we are defining and managing a lot of the public protected areas in the world. They are being done so in a very similar method. So that is one of the aspects of globalization, is our parks and our protected areas. So we are not incorporating the people that live there in the beginning, so that we're all just kind of looking at it from the same perspective. The World Database, when we're trying to assess the quantity of protected areas, they strictly include state or national land. They don't include private land. And it is also very large tracts of land that they look at. They are not looking at, for example, my sister's urban area that is a certified wildlife land, and if we add all those up, then we would have a very different assessment of how much protected area we have. We have one last page to go quickly. Oh, this was a really sad part. So when we're not including people that live in the area for creating the protected spots, it can radically change their lifestyles. And as a result, in Uganda, when they thought that an area was going to become another national park, they went in and killed all the wildlife, or killed a lot of it, so that it couldn't become a protected area. There was another report, several of them in China, Nicaragua, Norway, and Nepal, where they went in and they felled a lot of trees because it was part of their protest for a conservation area coming in. So it shows the extreme need for working with people when we're creating any area. So that was the next paper that I read. It was about collaborations, and that was really cool to me. It was like, what do we put at the center of our question, and what is it that we see as a problem? And based on that, then we're able to change how we view the problem. And one of the things that was cool was looking at it from perspective, which is that you bring your life experiences, your knowledge, and you're not coming so heavily from a strategic moves or trying to maintain your institutional ideologies, that you're really looking at it with what do we come to the table with, and how can we all collaborate on this together. And that brings me to the term for the independent study, which is environmental justice, and that is fair treatment and meaningful involvement for all people in environmental laws, policy, and regulations. And I would like to do a little nod and thank you to President Biden for including environmental justice and putting it at the core of all of the agencies, because where is nature not important, and where is the interaction between humans and nature not critical, because that is what sustains us all. So that's it for this week. I forgot the poem. It was from David Wagner. I will post it. And next week I'm going to be studying biospheres, and this answer for one of the problems with protected areas that has a huge collaboration between China, Nepal, and India. So get outside and have fun. Ciao!